I'm the Lonely Necron, and welcome to my basement. So, on the Faerie Kingdom planet, a group of orcs have found themselves, mysteriously, nearby. They spot a castle and run to it in the hopes of fixing it up a little bit and making it more orky and maybe going out and doing orc things. And then one of them spots a blue armored figure in the distance. The Night Lords, who have already been on the Faerie Kingdom planet for a while now, had marked the castle as a possible spot to put a support thingy in, like a fire base or a supply outpost or something. So they sent a bunch of Space Marines over to go check it out, and it seems to have a whole bunch of vermin in it, so the Night Lords are going to have to kill them some orcs. So today, we got this castle that the orcs have appropriated. They're probably not going to stay in it. It's not a defense, it's just an, oh, look, there's a castle. So the orcs that have decided to hang out in it, yeah, they're purple orcs. Got a war boss in mega armor, 2 squads of 10 boys, a knob with a gun in this one, what is that, a big shooter, and then a big chopper and a rocket launcher. Death Dread with, he does have 2 Dread Claws and 2 Scorches, but they're still being painted, so 3 Death Copters, and then a squad of commandos with all the extra possible upgrade things. So the burner, the rockets, the breacher that we gotta pretend is there, and then the bomb squig and the garrote thing. I don't remember what those are for, but it's only the second game, so I guess we'll discover things as we go. And for the Night Lord side, we have this Master of Executions, 2 squads of 11 Space Marines, guy with a plasma pistol and a chain axe, and then there's a heavy bolter and an auto cannon in that grouping, then a chain sword and a plasma pistol with a plasma gun and a flamer. This guy just has a plasma pistol and a power fist, no special weapon for him. A squad of warp talons, and then a blade raider. So yeah, these 2 groups fighting over this castle and the little hill thing that it's on. I'm going to set up deployment and we'll get started on this game. Okay, so the Night Lords have all pretty much lined up just here, all densely packed in together. Squad of 11, the Master of Executions, Obliterator, the other big squad, Warp Talons, a little baby squad for the Orcs. Because these guys can, the commandos can deploy really, really close, so they chose to. We got the Death Dread out here, tucked in this corner. The War Boss inside the door there, just ready to come running out. The Death Cop is over there, but they go really fast. Inside the castle with the War Boss, we got a squad of boys, and then the other squad of boys ready to also charge on out of there. So the Orcs won the roll-off for deployment and all that stuff, so they get to go first. So we'll hop into Orcs turn 1 movement. Alright, so I believe, yeah, I feel kind of like a big green tide, even though they're not all painted yet, but a nice big green tide is kind of surging forward here. The commando just kind of moved up. The Death Dread advanced up to there. The War Boss and this group of boys behind him advanced up to there. Death Copters just moved on over here. And the boys that were in the back are now up front, ready to also come streaming out. Still don't have a weird boy, so we'll get into orc shooting. Well, apparently orcs kind of suck at shooting, but a lot of things aren't really in range. None of these guys hit anything. The Coptas all shot at the Warp Talons and missed with every shot. So yeah, I guess these commandos can, well, wait. Should the commandos charge into these guys? No, I think I'll wait till next turn for that. So that'll take it over to Night Lord's turn 1 movement. Okay, so the Night Lords have definitely exploded up and across. The Warp Talons advanced up to get closer to the Depth Copters, kinda. These Chaos Space Marines advanced up to get onto the hill. The Master of Executions just hopped up there. These guys advanced, but just didn't get that extra distance. And then the Obliterator and this smaller squad of Chaos Space Marines have set their sights on these commandos. So, no Psychers, so we'll go into Chaos Shooting. Alright, so the Obliterator was really the only one who could shoot anything, so he killed 5 of these commandos, but they did not run away. Yeah, the Night Lords can't charge anybody, so that takes us on over to the Orc turn for movement. We're about to see some bloodshed, I believe. So the commandos have gotten up to get a much clearer shot at everything still on the ground. The Death Copters have definitely moved up to hopefully hit these guys with rockets. And everything over here just surged forward as far as it could movement-wise. Yeah, not much else to say other than, oh my crap, there's a lot of orcs coming. So hopefully these guys can hold on. That'll take us on over into orc shooting. Alright, so the commandos were able to kill one of this grouping here. And this group of boys in the front, in between the war boss and the boys in the back, killed off 2 of these Space Marines. The Death Dread, with his invisible scorches, did some damage to the Master of Executions. So yeah, that was nice and fun. So we'll go into the charge phase, which will definitely be these commandos into that squad of Space Marines. And then, yeah, that squad of boys and the war boss into the Master of Executions and the squad there. And then, you know, why not? The Depth Copters into these Warp Talons. Alright, so the commandos were successful in charging into these Chaos Space Marines, and the Depth Copters were successful in charging into the Warp Talons. But the boys and the War Boss were very, very unsuccessful at charging into these guys, and in fact lost a couple of boys in the process. But these guys managed to kill off 3 Warp Talons and only take a little bit of damage in return. And these guys killed off 1 or 2 of the Space Marines and lost some guys in return, so. But strangely enough, nobody runs away, so that'll take us into Night Lord's turn 2, movement. Alright, so these guys are going to stay in their combat, as are the Warp Talons. These guys have opted not to move at all. Master of Executions has moved up his 5. The Obliterator just moved over a little bit, and these guys moved over this way, towards this way, to get a better crack at just running into these guys and hopefully finishing them off. So yeah, that'll take us on over to Night Lord shooting. So between all of the pistols of these 2 squads, they managed to kill off the last of the commandos. This squad, one of their bolters actually killed off one of these boys, and the Obliterator did a little bit of damage to the Death Dread. I hadn't actually anticipated the commandos dying during a shooting, so I don't really have a plan for these guys for charging. But the Master of Executions is definitely going to charge into that war boss. So yeah, good times. Well, I feel like the Night Lord's plans might have gone awry. The Master of Executions was successful in charging the war boss, and he did do some damage to him, but then he got murdered in return. The Death Copters finished off the other 2 Warp Talons that were over here. So that'll take us to Orks round 3 movement. Okay, so if I was a Night Lord in this situation, I would feel increasingly trapped. The Depcopters have come around to circle and kind of flank these guys. And they're definitely going to be doing some rockets here in a minute. All of these guys have just moved forward, even closer to this squad here on the edge. Yeah. So we'll get into orc shooting. I really wish the orcs had a better shooting, thing. That 5-up kind of sucks. Having said that, between the war boss and this group of boys, they did kill off 2 space marines, so bonus. That'll take us to the charge phase. So the war boss and this group of boys are definitely charging into these chaos space marines here. Yeah, that'll be that. So the boys and the war boss were able to successfully charge into the space marines and then just completely destroyed them. So yeah, that was kind of rough and terrible to watch. The boys actually killed, like, I don't know, 5 of them, and then the war boss took care of the last 2. So yeah, that takes us on over to the Night Lord's turn here in round 3. It's vaguely amazing to me how quickly the forces of chaos were destroyed in the first 2 rounds so far. So all that really happened was that the Obliterator and the smaller group of Space Marines just switched places. Hopefully to maybe provide a better meat shield for the Obliterator. Probably not. Yeah, so we'll go to a hopefully not too desperate shooting phase. That wasn't a terrible shooting phase. This first 3 guys in a row there shot at the Depcopters and weren't able to do anything. But the 4 guys out of this squad and the Obliterator that could see the squad of pure boys managed to knock out all of the boys and reduce this last knob to 1. So they're certainly not going to charge, so we'll go into Orks round 4 movement. So all of the Orks have converged on the last remaining 2 squads and Obliterator here. These boys advanced, everyone else just moved. So do some orc shooting. A whole lot of orc missing probably. So the Death Dread did a whole lot of damage with its Scorcha and killed, I think, 4 of these guys. It was pretty terrible. So we'll go into orc charging, which is going to be super, super crazy. I'll get the Depcopters into these guys. This last knob and this Death Dread into these guys. Yeah, it's going to be a great time. So the knob and the Death Dread both successfully made it into the Space Marines, and the Depcopters made it into these guys. And while all but 1 of the Space Marines were killed, the boss knob was also killed. And they managed to kill a couple of Space Marines over here and only took a point of damage out of that, so I call that pretty successful. So oh yeah, he doesn't run away from the thingy. So that'll take us to turn 4, Night Lord's movement. Probably not a lot of it. Okay, well, I guess nobody's moving, so we'll get into chaos shooting. Well, all of the Chaos Space Marines shot their pistols at the Depcopters and didn't really do anything at all. The Obliterator did a couple of points of damage to this Death Dread. I guess this aspiring champion here is just going to suicide charge into the Death Dread. These guys are already in combat, so we'll probably come back in a second, and there won't be this Chaos guy here anymore. We'll see. Maybe. Well, the aspiring champion did make it in there. He didn't do any damage, and he did die in return. These Chaos Space Marines didn't do any damage and lost another Space Marine. So, yeah, that takes us to round 5, Orks movement. So the Depcopters are just going to stay in combat. The war boss just hopped down off the hill. The squad of boys that's been lagging behind this whole time has finally made it up to the edge of the hill. And the Death Dread is also going to stay here, just probably charge into this guy. So we'll get into Orc shooting. So the Death Dread put a hurtin' on the Obliterator, and that's really all that happened. A couple of guys with their pistols shot at these guys engaged in combat down here, didn't do nothing. His big shooter shot the Obliterator, didn't do anything, so thank God for auto hits. So yeah, that'll take us into the charge phase, which will be the Death Dread and the War Boss will both be charging into this Obliterator. This fight will just keep on going. Okay, so the Dreadclaw successfully charged into the Obliterator, and the Mega Boss just didn't make its distance. The Dreadclaw did kill the Obliterator. The Death Copses did kill all but one of the Space Marines. And he's literally not going to do anything for his round. He's just going to shoot his plasma pistol and swing his power fist at the end here of round 5. So let's see if he does anything or if he dies during the fight phase. I think he will. Or he can just do what he just did and supercharge his plasma pistol and then roll a 1. So, yep. Orcs win. Yay. I figured the Orcs were going to win, but I also kind of figured that the Master of Executions was going to kill the War Boss. That didn't happen. So yeah, no, they're purple. I couldn't find any reference online about any clan ever being purple. Everything I found is like a joking tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, like, oh, nobody's seen purple Orcs because they must be invisible or something, but whatever, they're purple. I'll probably just play them like they have Evil Sun's background, but they're purple. So yeah, there's that. Having said that, I really like Orcs so far, other than the fact that they just can't shoot at all. It's really kind of a terrible thing, but yeah, they're super melee awesome. I like it. So they're 2 for 2, I guess, against house armies. So here in the future, when I have more Orcs, I'll throw them at the Necrons, and we'll see what they're really worth. So if you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate your taking the time to watch. Have a good morning and all that, and I'll see you at the next one.